Today is Thursday, March 27th, 2025. This is the 47 Daily Podcast. My name is Mark Kaye, and I'd like to begin today's show with a special treat. Here's a clip of President Donald Trump belittling a reporter in the Oval Office for wearing a mask.
You know, I haven't seen a mask in so long. You're wearing a mask. So nice of you. I haven't seen anybody wearing a mask in a long time. It's good. You feel more comfortable, right? Good. That's good.
Yeah, that's something in it. You know, you walk into the White House, you walk into the Oval Office wearing a mask, you have to imagine after a while, the President of the United States is going to say something to you. And this, of course, was at another tariff signing / impromptu press conferences that he holds almost daily. And this tariff was one that was designed to make America not just stronger and safer, but also richer. And it included yet another tariff, this time on the auto industry.
As you stated, we've prepared for your attention a proclamation imposing a 25% tariff on foreign-made cars and light trucks. This is in addition to tariffs that are already in place on those goods. In addition to, as you said, spurring increased domestic manufacture of cars and trucks, we expect that these tariffs will result in over $100 billion of new annual revenue to the United States of America in tariff revenue.
I think ultimately we could probably anywhere from $600 billion to $1 trillion will be taken in over the relatively short-term period, meaning a year from now, but starting right away. I think we'll go from 600 to $1 trillion within 2 years, and I think we'll be right from the beginning, we're going to be at a very high number, right from the beginning. And right from the beginning, you're going to have a lot of construction jobs, but you're also going to have a lot of automobile jobs. So this is very exciting.
Very exciting for the entire country. And Donald Trump with a projection of $600 billion to $1 trillion in as little as 1 year's time. That is exactly what he's been. That is exactly what he's been trying to push, and that is exactly what he believes these tariffs will do. Because you know what? I'll just let Donald Trump explain it to you because it's his tariff.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We started off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%. And basically, as you know, and as you've been saying, not reporting as accurately as it should be reported because it's a massive story. Business is coming back to the United States so that they don't have to pay tariffs. And I think also because of November 5th, the election, they're very happy. AI is coming back to levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's a new business, I guess, when you think about it. But it's plants are going up all over the United States, and many of them have already been started. We're getting early electricity taken care of. We're getting permits very quickly for them. And we're going to make their life very happy. They're coming in with tens of billions of dollars.
There you go. Donald Trump saying, look, we are tackling these tariffs and these economic initiatives on every front. We've got AI dominance. We've got now auto industry dominance, energy dominance. All of these things, of course, work in tandem to make America the powerhouse that we need it to be. No pun intended. And not only that, but Donald Trump wants the country not just taking in money from foreigners who are importing and trying to do business and want access to our marketplace, but he's also trying to make it more lucrative for Americans to buy American, because not only do you need to inspire people to create their products here in the United States and use our manufacturing and our workers and our sales systems and our resources, but also you've got to make sure that Americans are ready, willing, and able to buy this stuff. And don't worry, Donald Trump has an amazing plan for that as well, if he can get it through.
We're trying to get approved, if we can. If you borrow money to buy a car, you're allowed to deduct interest payments for purposes of income tax, but only if the car is made in America. So if the car is made in America, you get a loan, you can deduct the interest. That's a big saving. A lot of people in that part of the world, in terms of buying cars, a lot of them don't think in terms of deductions. People that think in terms of deductions are very wealthy people, but people are going to start understanding what a good deduction is all about. So when you get a loan to buy a car, and I think it's going to pay for itself. I don't think there's any cost. I think you're going to have so many cars built But you're only going to get that deduction of interest if the car is made in the United States of America. So I'm going to sign this, and Mike, I hope you can get that, because I think it's going to be amazing in terms of the number of cars that are going to be made because of it.
I believe he's talking to Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, whose job it is to, get stuff done in the House of Representatives. I hope he makes that, man. I hope he makes that whole, no interest, or I'm sorry, no tax deductible interest on car loans thing retroactive, because I've been driving an American car since I was 16 years old, and I can prove it. I don't know if I still have the loan documents, but anyway, that's Donald Trump's day. Donald Trump, of course, constantly trying to work on making America great again, constantly trying to work on making America rich again. Donald Trump has big economic plans, and he knows that the key to American exceptionalism in every aspect, whether it's military dominance, whether it's technological exceptionalism, whether it's energy independence, he knows that it all starts with being rich, with having the money. You need cash on hand. You need to be able to make money so that you can do the things that you want to do, whether it's win wars or keep people from going to war in the first place because your military is so scary. All of these things, it requires some kind of investment, and that is Donald Trump's number one goal, to make sure that we have the money coming in, not from taxes, not by taxing the rich or the middle class or even the poor, not by increasing taxes, but by increasing tariffs. And it's internal revenue versus external revenue. The Democrats are all about internal revenue. Donald Trump saying, look, there's millions of dollars out there in this world. We're going to start taking some of that. And even though Donald Trump is continuing to try to make America great again, the media and the press and the liberals and the Democrats, they still just want to harp on what they've coined as Signal Gate.
Look, it's all a witch hunt. Here we are talking about some of the greatest business deals ever made. The greatest companies in the world are moving into the United States, and you want to ask about whether or not Signal works. I don't know that Signal works. I think Signal could be defective, to be honest with you. And I think that's what we have to, because you use Signal and we use Signal and everybody uses Signal, but it could be a defective platform, and we're going to have to find that out.
Donald Trump saying, look, you guys are on a witch hunt now. We're doing amazing things. We've got business propositions. We're making America boom, boom, boom. We're getting things done, and you're harping on this ridiculousness. We don't want to talk about that. You know who else didn't want to talk about it? Doug Collins, the Secretary of Veterans Affairs in Donald Trump's cabinet. He was on CNN with Caitlin Collins, no relation, and they were supposed to be discussing Veterans Affairs. But you know what Caitlin Collins wanted to talk about? She wanted to talk about, quote unquote, Signal Gate.
Do you believe that a mistake was made here, though, to have this conversation, to add a reporter, and to have it on an unsupported, classified group setting?
Caitlin, as I've just told you, I've just answered the question. I wasn't a part of it. And, I'm not going to speculate more than what the president's already talked about and those who've been involved have talked about. But we'd love to talk about the veterans.
Yeah, and I do have questions about the veterans, but given what we saw with the group chat and how this was used, you are a member of the cabinet. You obviously know these other members, several of them who were in there. Is this typical for the cabinet to have conversations over Signal? Is this something that you use?
Well, Caitlin, since you undoubtedly do not want to talk about the VA, I have a question as VA Secretary. As cabinet, I want to ask you, because I've been curious about this, because my job is to take care of veterans, and I would like to know why CNN is hostile to veterans, especially one in Florida, where you just had a $5 million defamation suit taking offense at a veteran who was trying to help people. In fact, one of your employees actually said, we're going to nail him. I have a question for you, Caitlin. Is that employee still employed? Are you really concerned about veterans? So if we don't want to talk about veterans now, you want to talk about everything else, I'd like to hear from CNN as the veteran cabinet secretary why CNN seems to have a problem with veterans.
Well, Mr. Secretary, respectfully, my question was about whether or not you as a member of the cabinet use this. And respectfully, I'm conducting the investigation. And I do have a lot of questions for you on Veterans Affairs, but I don't think it would be unwarranted to ask
what you want to do is talk about a subject that I've already answered. And if you want to continue this like this, that's fine. But there are VA employees who are working very hard. There are veterans who get their care from the VA and they get their benefits from the VA. And it does me no good to speculate on something that I've already asked and answered. So I've asked and answered your question. Why don't you answer mine? Is this person still employed who said they were going to nail one of my veterans, who you had to do a $5 million award from a jury because of defamation, and then you settled the case? Answer my question.
Donald Trump's cabinet is not Joe Biden's cabinet. Donald Trump's cabinet does not sit there and take it. Donald Trump's cabinet, everybody that works for him in the White House, is a combative conservative. They're not afraid of the fake news and they're not afraid of the truth. And they will get up in anybody's face and they will tell you what's what. And they don't care about signal. They don't care about these witch hunts. They don't care about any kind of distraction. What they care about is making America great again and protecting Americans, whether it's American auto workers, whether it's American consumers, or whether it's veterans. And Caitlin Collins just had it handed to her by one of the great administrators we've seen in a very long time. Who knew Veterans Affairs could be so fiery and exciting? But with Doug Collins in charge, I mean, whenever he's from Georgia, and you don't mess with those guys. Another person you don't mess with is Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt had to walk out and do a press briefing, and of course, a majority of the questions were about this ridiculous signal gate that is basically a non-issue and a non-story. And the more that the Atlantic, which is a disreputable, dishonest propaganda machine led by Jeffrey Rosenberg, the more that they try to make it into a story, the more they almost diffuse the situation. The tweets or the signal messages they released yesterday showed really the opposite of what they originally claimed. And Caroline Leavitt pointed that out to the media yesterday at the White House.
Unfortunately, all of this good is happening for our country. This administration is working hard on behalf of the American public every day, but the mainstream media continues to be focused on a sensationalized story from the failing Atlantic magazine that is falling apart by the hour. Here are the facts. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this matter, and the National Security Council immediately said, alongside the White House counsel's office, that they are looking into how a reporter's number was inadvertently added to this messaging thread. We have said all along that no classified material was sent on this messaging thread. There were no locations, no sources, or methods revealed, and there were certainly no war plans discussed. The Atlantic has even admitted this themselves. Their release of these internal messages validates the truth, which we have been saying all along. If this story proves anything, it proves that Democrats and their propagandists in the mainstream media know how to fabricate, orchestrate, and disseminate a misinformation campaign quite well. And there's arguably no one in the media who loves manufacturing and pushing hoaxes more than Jeffrey Goldberg.
That is exactly right. Now, this is, of course, the kind of publicity that Jeffrey Goldberg and the folks at the Atlantic love. But Caroline Leavitt is like, look, we're not gonna listen to you Democrats. We're not gonna listen to the media try to tell us what to do when it comes to national security. There's nobody that knows more about, works harder for, or cares more about national security than the Republican Party, Donald Trump, and the people that he put in office. When you look at what Joe Biden did with the border, when you look at what Joe Biden did with the military, when you look at what Joe Biden did with Afghanistan, you can see that Donald Trump and everybody he's placed in charge are far superior than anyone in the last 4 years.
We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
And the reason we do that is because we have a lot of people in the cabinet or a lot of people in the White House who have actually served in active combat. We have people who are, veterans themselves. And understand what it means to go and fight for this country, the sacrifices that are made, and how important it is to protect those people, stand up for those people, and plan operations that are going to be uber successful and reduce any and all human loss of life, not just to the enemy, but of course to United States military members and their families. And of course, J.D. Vance, the vice president himself, a Marine. J.D. Vance, himself a veteran of the USMC, and he was in Quantico, Virginia yesterday to give a rousing speech where he said, look, we have your backs. We are here to protect you. We're going to get rid of all this ridiculousness, and we are going to focus on making sure that you're well-trained, qualified, prepared, that the plan of attack is solid, and that you come back home.
Under President Trump's leadership, we believe in a very simple principle. We don't care who you are, where you came from. We don't care what skin color you are. We care about excellence and we care about patriotism. And if you are awesome and you are a patriotic young Marine, then we are going to do everything that we can to make you the most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. And that is what we're doing every single day. No more quotas. No more ridiculous mumbo jumbo, no more diversity trainings. We believe the real strength and the real diversity in the United States Marine Corps is that you all come from every walk of life, come from every corner of America, and you have got the strength and the purpose to win the nation's wars, and that is what the Marine Corps is going to do, just like it's done for damn near 250 years.
Hoorah! That was exactly right. And then, because you're a Quantico and because you're a Marine and because you're the Vice President of the United States, you're not going to leave without going to the range and squeezing off a few rounds from a machine gun. I love that we have a vice president. I love that we have a vice president who takes shots. Not the way Kamala Harris took shots, but the way that JD Vance takes shots. Anyway, listen, we have a fantastic group of individuals who are taking care of business in every aspect. And JD Vance is right. No more woke mumbo jumbo. No more quotas. No more weird transgender training. But there's only two genders, so if there's only two genders, you don't need to worry about training people on any of the other ones. And in fact, Donald Trump at a Women's History event yesterday at the White House reminded everybody that, look, over the last 4 years, there's been an attack on women, and that attack has now ended.
For long years, we had an administration that tried to abolish the very concept of womanhood and replace it with radical gender ideology. Maybe you heard something about that. They destroyed women's spaces and even tried to replace the word mother with the term birther person. A mother became a birther person. What's that all about? Then you wonder why they lost. They're trying to figure out why did they lose. I saw a congressman today for the Democrats. He was having a big fight on television early this morning, trying to make it so that really he thinks men should play in women's sports. He hasn't given that up yet. He was fighting like crazy. I said, this guy is going to lose. He's going to lose badly. The whole party is still into that. They haven't learned and we don't want them to learn, frankly. We want them to keep fighting. Let's not tell them. Under the Trump administration, we're ending the Marxist war on women, and you had a war on women. And we're protecting women's rights, defending women's dignity, and standing up for the American moms and daughters. So many are represented here, great people in this room. American women have never had bigger champions than all of us in the White House. I mean, it's me, but it's the group of men and women.
And they're all there, and they're fighting for women's rights, and they're making sure that women have the kind of respect that they deserve.
On day one, I made the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. Is there anybody, seriously, is there anybody that disagrees with that in this room? I was thinking maybe somebody from the press might raise their hand. I don't think so. There aren't too many people.
Maybe that person who was wearing the mask in the Oval Office. Listen, we've got so much more to get to today. Donald Trump is making headlines all the time. Donald Trump works diligently 24 hours a day. Donald Trump is out there creating executive orders and opportunities for America and making sure that we are safer and stronger and richer and greater than ever before. And so we're going to cover even more news coming up in our second podcast today at noon. It's called Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. And if you've never heard it, oh, you gotta hear this one. It's really easy to find. We live stream every single day on YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook. And we also have a podcast on all of the major podcast platforms, so you can download and listen to it at your leisure. Go to Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Download, listen, and enjoy.